very rarely in animals that virus can morph and make a change that then jumps to humans. We saw that with MERS, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, and we saw it with SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, about a decade ago. And what has happened here is in one city in China, Wuhan, about halfway between Beijing and Hong Kong, we've had an outbreak of a novel coronavirus, and it is showing evidence of limited human-to-human spread, approximately 300 cases so far.
In a city of, in a city of, I may, 19 million people.
Yes, indeed. And it also is happening at the time of the Chinese New Year, and so you have a lot of travelers. The Chinese have been transparent, working with us and the rest of the world community on this. We have been heavily engaged from the outset of this, and the CDC and I, working under President Trump's direction, have been taking the steps that one would take with an infectious disease outbreak of this kind. We have engaged in we've created a diagnostic test, so we developed a diagnostic test at the CDC so we can confirm if somebody has this. We've educated our healthcare professionals, hospitals, and doctors to be on the lookout for any symptoms so that a patient can be isolated and contained right away. And we've also enacted travel surveillance mechanisms. So flights coming from that city, Wuhan, come in primarily to LAX, San Francisco, and JFK. All travelers from Wuhan are being screened for any symptoms. We're expanding that now to Chicago and Atlanta. And we're also, that will cover 84% of individuals coming from that city. And the other 16% will be what we call funneled. Their flight plans will be changed so that they will travel to those 5 cities so they also can be surveilled before entering the United States.
And of course, everyone is anxious to understand what is happening with the disease itself in China, because we have not always had reliable information from the Chinese, if I can put it that way. Is there a high level of confidence that the Chinese are not experiencing something far worse than they reported numerically?
So I would say to date, our interactions with the Chinese government have been very transparent and productive, and I don't believe any concerns have been expressed by either the CDC or the World Health Organization regarding that transparency. We may find more cases because, frankly, the 300 that have been identified so far, those are individuals who will have presented in a clinical way to a hospital. So those numbers may expand. That wouldn't necessarily be a matter of lack of transparency, but rather just epidemiological surveillance and collection. So far, we're seeing cooperation. It's enabled us to actually develop that diagnostic that I mentioned. And we'll be spreading that diagnostic around the country so that we're able to do rapid testing on site. But the most important thing we need to do is get any individual with suspected symptoms, fever, respiratory illness, to see a physician, go to the hospital so they can be diagnosed to see if they in fact have this condition. It would be very rare. We've seen limited human-to-human transmission. We have had, as you mentioned, 1 case identified, and this was immediately identified by healthcare workers in the state of Washington, so the system is working.
And last I
we're now
heard,
tracing the close contacts of that individual to ensure that none of them are showing those symptoms, and they would, of course, be isolated and treated if necessary. So while this is a potentially serious public health issue, it's one for which we have the playbook, and we will keep ratcheting up our controls, our multi-layered approach as appropriate in close consultation with President Trump.
And as I understand it, that 1 case outside Snohomish County, just outside Seattle, Washington, that 1 case, we're told, it's been reported, that he is in good condition, which is encouraging as well.
Absolutely.
Mr. Secretary, we thank you for taking the time to talk with us, and we also thank you for taking.
And with that being said, guys, 1 case in Washington, they're talking about 300. I want you to flash back on this. It was like 3 or 4, 14, 40, 60. Now it's 300. I put to you it's a lot more than 300, guys. And I think it's a lot closer to the 1,700 that they put out. If you read some of my previous posts and some of my other videos, and go out there and look for yourselves, guys. It's out there. DW News has a bunch of stuff. Agenda Free's got a bunch of stuff out there going on it. different. It's out there. Just go out and research it. You don't have to take it from me. But what I do know is what I've been researching is I've been watching it from both sides. You just heard this guy, CDC, which between you and I, you can only believe about this much of what these guys say. I mean, it goes all the way back to when the gentleman back east mysteriously fell in the river. Yeah, the head of one of the head guys at the CDC. So cover up is what they do. Manipulate and change things around is what they do. So all I'm saying, be careful, wash your hands, stay out of public places as much as you can. If you have to travel, maybe even wear the mask like they do over in Asia. There's a reason those guys are wearing those masks. But remember, it went from a small number, it's growing. It is now transmittable, proven from person to person. Check some of my previous videos. Again, go check some of the videos from overseas where their own medical doctors over there are saying it is transferable. Also, in another story I did, it's transferable between patients and medical personnel now. So it's only one person here or there, and it sounds like they are trying to get it under control as far as if they're screening everybody coming from over there, wonderful. But it's the people that they've been in contact with. And remember, this has a 15-day incubation period. So during the past even month, while this has probably been out there going around before it even was known, things are out there, guys. This is not to be played with. When I say 12 monkeys, if you don't know what that is, watch it. Of course, that was a scenario of where they wanted to sabotage, make people ill with the illness. And this is not to say that this isn't originally something that got out of the bag over there in China and got into the people. They don't care about their people as much as we hope our country cares about us. And with that, remember, healthcare sucks! Over and out.